Okay, I'm gonna pull this Borg Warner 1356 transfer case apart. We're gonna do an internal inspection, check the chain, check the bearings, check all the consumable parts inside of it. So this is a 1356 out of a brick nose F-150. This was bolted to a ZF 5-speed. So I know this will go onto my truck. It looks like somebody had been in here before. So that's why we're opening it up, right, Jesse?
That's right.
So on the 9th gen F-150s, they don't use this provision. They're all speedo by wire, so they don't drive off the tail shaft anymore. So this would be 91 and older, because from 92 to 96 they were all speedo by wire. So they ran off a speed sensor on the rear axle.
Yeah.
So we're gonna pop this out, pop this off, and I will be bringing you guys back. There's still a little fluid in there. Holy Jesus Christ, this guy must have stock in silicone.
It's on there.
Pry driver?
No.
Or are those held on by like a snap ring?
Yeah. It's still all attached.
Okay.
No, I don't think that.
Hasn't spun free.
We need snap ring pliers. So we're trying to remove that collar so we can get to that snap ring. So we can get the speedo gear off. There we go. Okay, so to get the speedo gear off, you gotta pull this ball out. And don't lose it. Important. Pry driver. Yay! Now we can get to that. Then start breaking the ring of bolts off and pull it apart. Okay, so after you remove all your T47s, we're gonna split the case now. We already got it. We got it loose. They're kind of a bitch sometimes. Enough silicone on here to do 3 of these. So this is your drive chain. Oil pickup tube. Is the filter still attached? It is.
Yeah. It's dirty.
Just off the magnet. It's not horrible. That would be neutral, right?
That was neutral, yep. And I think I just went too high. Oh, there's neutral. There's 4 high.
4 low. The fun gear.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what do you think?
This far. Get it all cleaned up and see what it looks like.
So, this is a Morse chain, which from our experience, as Jesse was saying, is what the factory used.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't look horrible, but it doesn't look great.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll get it up of here, but it seems like there's a little more side-to-side deflection in it than there should be. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll give it the flop test. Compare it to a new chain. so people know what they're looking at when they're doing this.
Yeah.
What the fork slides don't look hard. Well, from what I can tell, the fork slides don't look bad
No,
up here.
that looks good. Oh, the pads.
Yeah,
They're intact. This one's intact.
I can see the bottom one. It looks good. Yeah, that Explorer case that we built a while back, this was like a hard plastic line and it snapped off up here, so it was not getting much lubrication. Filter was just laying down on the bottom. Oh, I hate those ones.
These pliers might not be big enough either to get it. No.
Pry driver. You got it. It's off on this side.
Okay.
Hold on. There. I got this side off. There we go. You got that washer on there.
Oh yeah. Sure. Rear. A little bit of galling on the shaft and the gear here right behind the pump.
That ain't good.
I can't feel it with my fingernail.
That could have just been from dirty fluid too.
Could have been. We'll get it cleaned up, but I think that's going to be okay.
Yeah, you want to make sure that that lands in place where your pump will spin on the shaft and make a disaster out of everything in there. Ask us how we know.
Yeah.
Didn't you have a Dodge case come in with that sheared off?
I
Or I think it was. I remember you telling me you had a case come in, and that was like sheared off, or it came loose, and the pump spun inside the case, and it just
Yeah.
wrecked everything.
Yeah.
No big chunks in the filter. And there are some things that almost looks like silicone.
Yeah, there's bits of silicone in there. A little bit of dirt or something, some kind of grime.
The magnet kind of looks bad, but not really.
No, that's not horrible.
Yeah. Well, like this is like for anybody that's never opened up a case before. That screen is the only filter you have in the case. So this is more. This does more filtering than that screen does.
And then once you pull the shift rod out, this comes right out and comes apart. That looks, well, the hand's dirtier than the part is, but that looks good. Fork pads look really good.
Yeah, like they recently changed. There's blue pen mark on there.
So that's probably factory.
Planetaries line up, match the gears really nice in there. Ain't no parts or nothing laying in there.
That bearing probably shouldn't have that much wiggle in it.
Put a front output shaft bearing in it then? Is that what you're thinking?
Probably.
I can attest that having this bad bearing, you will, if you didn't know that was bad, you would be chasing driveline vibrations forever. Mm-hmm. So, and bad U-joints can take those out too, like incredibly fast.
Yeah.
Like this. You just bust that nut loose and she just comes right out, right?
There's also a snap, or yeah, I believe that one does not have a snap ring in further. Yes.
How does that one feel?
There's a little movement in it.
Might as well just replace it to be safe.
Yeah, it's out. Or it's apart.
Okay. Okay, so this bearing is gonna get replaced. The bearing that rides right here, see how it's kind of cloudy right there? That's just wear pattern from this bearing. So we're gonna replace this guy too. We're here. So, and this bearing is also probably we're gonna replace this one as well because we're here. So, for those of you guys that don't have a dishwasher like we do, here, a flat carbide scraper, like this one. This is a Mac Tools. There's a part number. Just does a beautiful job of cleaning these off without gacking the shit out of all your mating surfaces. You don't want to be hammering a screwdriver in between here. There are places like here and up on top that you can pry the halves apart and not wreck your surfaces.
Didn't need to come all the way out. Just need to get the number off of it.
Japan 8207.
Sure, it's not a 6.
Yeah, this is 6.
Pay me enough to live these days? No. Nobody really is.
Yeah, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. So those snap ring pliers to get that thing out. That thing's a kind of a bitch. Ready? You want...
I need the hooks right here.
Fuck, I could almost pull that thing out.
Almost.
Yeah. And input shaft bearing. Doesn't feel too loose.
Yeah, this one's a lot better than the others.
Let's say that one sits on that output shaft of the transmission, so there's a lot of support for that one bearing.
There is, yeah.
Change it anyways because we got it out.
Yeah, we're already this far.
Throw it in the dishwasher. Oh, we gotta pull that one out still yet.
Yep.
It's brand new. So this is the old one. New one. Honestly, about the same. Yeah, they're about the same. I think that chain was replaced. We might have figured out why they were in there. Okay, so these are all the tools that we are using. So you need a magnet to retrieve the ball out of the shaft for your speedo gear, but you don't want to lose that little ball if you're going to reuse any of that stuff. Ball peen, dead blow. You don't really need a dead blow, but it helps. So we got the magnet. Snap ring pliers for the ones that don't have the little ears on them. Snap ring pliers. You don't need these wide foot ones, as these ones will do. Like I said, getting down into the that one that holds your planetaries in, that was kind of a bitch. We ended up using that one and tapping the shaft with a hammer. Then you got your, I believe this is an 8mm. Yep. Nope. $5mm for the oil pump bolts, because we're running everything through the parts washer. So you got to pull that oil pump off and to separate everything. So you got 4 of those that hold that on, and then just a regular ratchet with an extension. T47. Yeah, T47 Torx bit, and I mean that's all that we need, or that you would need to completely dismantle one of these cases. We do have, like, you know, this for breaking the halves, but you can use pry bars. I mean, you could do that with this right here. So you don't need like a shop full of fancy tools. There's nothing that presses in or presses out. It's all held in by snap ring plier or snap rings. These cases are fairly simple to work on. Doesn't take a whole lot. As far as our chain, we figured out why this case was opened up. This chain has been actually replaced. After comparing it with that new one, we're like, you know, it's new. So we're just going to rerun that chain. These chains are about $140 a shot. So, you know, we're going to save a little money there. We're going to replace all the bearings and seals while it's all apart and in the washer. So we're ready to start putting it all back together now. So all of that, this silicone, just came out of the filter. This is how you burn up transfer cases. That's what happens when you put so much damn silicone on your surface, it gets inside the case. Right?
That's right. Oh,
Yeah,
what was that?
I just knocked that out of the filter.
Oh, yep, that's
That'll burn up a case.
that'll burn up a case.
So, more isn't always better. So I guess if you're going to do more, if you're going to replace the bearings, you do need one specialized tool. I forgot about this. That is a blind bearing puller. Am I correct in that, Jesse?
You are correct.
Yeah. I imagine you probably rent those from O'Reilly's or something.
I don't know. If they have any, they're probably garbage. It's hard to say.
brand. What's that?
Kuko.
Kuko? Just kind of levers the thing. I'm sure you could probably cobble something together
Yeah.
to make that work, but just like that. So if you take this apart, mark it well.
Yeah.
Pay attention to how your plunger comes out, because you got to put it in. There's a profile on the end of the plunger that rides on the inside of this. This is like an eccentric shaft, and that's what creates the pumping action. So be careful when you pull this apart, if you pull it apart. If you're just chain slapping a case, you probably don't need to.
No. Nope.
But we're going a little deeper than that. But for most people, are probably just going to be chain slapping this. So I'm going to get this pump all put together and bring you guys back. Oh, yeah, that's that bitchy one.
It's a little stretched. These go in a little funky sometimes. Most of the way in, I gotta get a different attachment.
What axle seal driver was that?
1801, but I think an 1812 is gonna be a better fit.
So those are made in-house by Torqueking.
Yeah, actually that one's just a little bit small.
So if anybody does a lot of axle repairs, you know, they have like seal pullers and seal drivers and all sorts of stuff for doing bearings and things.
This one's 1818.
That was a good year.
Yeah,
I don't know.
there it is. Drop that into place.
Bingo. So those blind bearings, you can tap them in the same way, right? You don't have to use the press. Or do you need to use a press?
You can tap them in. I've tapped them in before, but I feel a lot safer with the press.
It's about really the only thing you need a press.
That and then the input bushing and bearing.
Yeah, I mean, like just that's, you know, like those.
That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. Everything else is just held together by clips.
Yeah, I guess there's the stuff, the little bearing right in the shift mechanism. That's just a tap in with a socket kind of thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, on our way back together. It's probably the worst snap ring on this whole job.
Yeah.
Just no room to work in there. Is that? Did we check to see if that vent was clear?
I can see through it.
Okay, that's good. Clear.
Thinking with our dipsticks here. Is that going to be enough to hold it up? No.
Stand the hammer head up.
Yeah.
You
little
guys
excess, but
gotta support that. Yeah, you gotta support those rotary gears to get that seated. So that's the synchronize
it's the range hub.
yeah,
Shift
engage.
between high and low. When it's out here, that's in low range. When it's down in there, that's high range. When it's in between,
Neutralis.
neutral.
And the teeth, they got those, they're like cut. Focus, you damn thing. The teeth have those like slash cuts on them. And then down in there are too. That's why sometimes you have to roll it forward or backwards to get that shit to go all the way in. They're gonna hang up.
Yeah.
That Dodge I have is freaking horrible for that.
Where's that shift? Okay, we've got the rail in there.
Yeah, so you gotta slip that into here while you're going down, and then get it lined up in here, and then drop your rail in. Mm-hmm. You just only need 3 hands for that.
At least.
Simply because this thing's going to be sitting for a bit before it actually gets put into a vehicle. Nobody likes a dry shaft anyways.
Just like that.
Yep. Make sure your thing goes in there. Well, where'd that magnet go? Don't want to forget the magnet.
Yep. Yeah, and that's just held in by the other case head. Mm-hmm. Okay, all done.
For that part.
We now have a 2-wheel drive high and low transfer case.
Well, if we were doing a twin stick, that's about as far as you'd go with the one, and then you'd bolt the other half to that with the adapter, correct?
It'd be funky, but yes, that is how you do it. What am I after? I forgot what I'm after.
Drive gear.
And the chain. Actually, before I put that on,
So this is that's the front, that's the rear, that goes on the main.
there we go. Okay. The chain looks a little loose just because there's no bearing supporting either one of these.
Yep.
Then that guy.
So we're in the middle of a transfer case rebuild, and we notice that this shift lever has a ton of play in it, where it shouldn't be this loose. It should be fairly tight. Well, we pull it apart, and we realize that this shaft is just riding on the case. And, well, I assume over, the 25 years that this case has been in service, 35 years that this case has been in service, the torque from selecting gears and just going down the highway and it rattling,
Spring torque on the
spring tension, just the function of the transfer case has wallowed out the bore in here, and you could actually, there's like wear marks in there.
The shift cam always pushing in the same direction. It just wore the housing out. So we did some thinking, and we have these bushings for a Mahindra Roxor, and they are loose by about 10 thousandths. Probably can't see the movement on the camera. Anyway, what we did is there's a seam here. We just spread it open, and then took a mill bit, a burr, which is, it's still in the drill. And we just kind of kissed off a little bit and then pinched it back closed. until we got a pretty good fit, so there wasn't much wiggle. And then in this case, we used the 3/4 inch drill bit to drill the housing and push the bushing in. It wasn't the tightest fit, but it was a pretty decent fit. I did have to use the driver handle and just some light taps with a hammer. Ideally, if we had 64th inch splits on our drill bits, that would have been the best. And then what we got was a little bit of movement, but much better than, it's only maybe a quarter of the movement from what it was.
Not to mention now we have a wearable brass sleeve
Yep.
instead of just writing on the case.
Yep. So these you can replace. Like I said, ideally, you'll want 64th inch splits in your drill bits to get the right fit. You'll want to only kiss off a little bit between this seam at a time. I did it 3 or 4 times. Just spread it, more than this, but just kind of worked it open and clamped it sideways in a vise like this so I could carefully take some material off and then crimp it back. It's going to take, a little bit of trial and error. You machine some on there, you put a smaller bit in, you see what fits, or you can measure. I guess you could measure this in your drill bit compared to the fit. But remember, these are going to shrink a little bit when they press in. So you want to account for that. But of course, if it does shrink in, or shrink when you put it in, and you do have 64th inch splits on your drill bit, you could kiss off the ID just a little bit and probably have a good fit.
Or emery cloth the sector shaft.
Yep, or emery cloth just a little bit. Of course, not where the seal rides, but a little further in. And then these bushings go just about all the way in. There's only just a little bit of space in the bore on each side that the bushing doesn't cover, but it's minuscule. It's less on both sides. It's less than 1/8 of an inch. But these bushings, have dimples for oil retention. They have a groove for oil retention. So these will lubricate themselves, and they may wear out over time. But of course, you can knock these out and replace them. You only have to drill a hole once. The modification does take a little bit of skill, but it was pretty straightforward. We had it done. It took us longer to drill the hole than it did to get the size pretty close. And we sized it in particular for this 3/4 drill bit because that's all we had.
This is ironically when you want a duller drill bit.
Yes. I started off with an 1/8 inch smaller drill bit, and it was eating pretty hard. That drill hadn't been used a lot. This one I started with, and we actually had to sharpen it a little bit, and it's not real sharp, but it was good.
You almost wanted the aluminum to come out in small flakes or a powder. You don't want it coming out in shards.
Right, yeah. With that other one drilling in, it could, there's a lot of material here, but it could have bored itself in and fractured the case. Of course, if we had a drill press, that wouldn't have been such an issue.
Yep.
But fixturing something like this in a drill press, I don't have the fixtures for that.
So this is about the closest to a backyard fix as you can get.
Yeah, as long as you get the hole pretty straight and you size the drill bit and this correctly by how much material you take out of the seam here, this seems like it's going to be a good fix.
And they're not making these cases anymore, and this is going to be a more and more common problem. Mm-hmm. This is the first we've come across it.
Yeah, we did check another case half out back, and it had the same issues, if not a little bit worse. And so we thought, okay, well, we'll see what we can do. Ideally, if you had resources close to you, like a machine shop, to bore this hole and explain to them, drop all 3 of these parts off, the sector, the bushing, and the housing, and just say, this should fit
snug.
It shouldn't have any wobble. If you drop it off and tell them that, a machine shop should be able to make a nice hole. Just explain to them the spread and take out material. They should be able to do that and get it probably a lot closer than what we were able to do, which is is a heck of a lot. There's maybe a quarter of the play in this than there was.
Yeah, we actually were pulling outside debris from within
Oh yeah,
the bore from the backside of the seal. That's how
yeah,
loose it was.
It moved so much that there was a gap between the seal and the shaft here.
And if you're restoring a pickup, or if you're building a wheeler, or you just have a daily that you drive on down a lot of muddy dirt roads, that will get in the case and that will cause problems. And this is about the closest thing that we found to a permanent fix.
Yeah.
So you can do this in your garage on a workbench.
You could. Yeah.
And if you're worried, if you know, and like we were discussing, for a cheap backup for the factory seal, which you can still get, you could pack some axle grease in there, or you were saying like an anaerobic sealant.
Well, the anaerobic sealant would just retain your bushing.
Oh yeah, that's right. But to kind of take up maybe some of the slack and to kind of give a backup against that seal, you could put like a heavy grease in there, like a high temp grease.
Yeah, heavy high temp grease would, help to kind of cushion it a little bit. I mean, there's still a lot of pressure on the little rooster comb here. Caw-caw! But yeah, a little high temp grease would at least help seal it, even if there was some side to side movement here. Mm-hmm. It'd help keep stuff from getting out of there.
It'd at least slow the water intrusion.
It would, yeah.
Well, there you go.
So maybe it's at least made the decent qualifications. We shall see.
So we're kind of touch and go now after we did that fix to see how everything lines up.
At least it's touching the roller now. There's still a little movement, but it's not way out.
Yeah. Oh.
Which, I mean, it doesn't, the way it's set up, it won't touch the roller all the way anyway.
Yeah.
Is this centered? There we go. Find the center of the shift thing. Yeah. There's decent roller contact now compared to.
It almost riding on the pin.
Yeah, it was riding on the pin. You see the mark from it.
So we, this is going to be on a separate video, but we had a lot of slop in this, which translated into a lot of slop into the shift cam. We did some backyard engineering using a shift collar sleeve for a Mahindra Roxer. We did some light touch-ups on that and drilled the hole out on that, and voila, all the slop is gone. So seeing how I can't find anybody else that's made a fix for that, we're calling it the Mahindra mod.
That works.
Because we only have Mahindra obsessions around here, so
Only a couple.
yeah, only a couple.
Appears to
Function test.
function as needed.
Okay, so when you're setting the chain of sprockets in, you got to put the sprockets in the chain and set it all down as an assembly. It's kind of nitpicky.
Yeah, and then, well, I can show it.
Sorry, I was
So we do that, and then we kind of hold this up a little bit and give the input or the front output shaft a little twist, and that falls right on. Then there we go, and we can make sure we got rear facing us here, and of course this stuff comes up over here because that's what engages this sprocket, as previously shown. So when it's shifted into four-wheel drive, it engages here and turns all that. When it's shifted out of four-wheel drive, it doesn't hit that. And of course, the spacing on this shaft will move a little bit, so that little clinking you hear won't occur.
the snap rings kind of center and locate everything.
Yep.
So typically, as I said previously in this video, if you're just doing a chain or like, you know, doing a light rebuild, the pocket bearings are about the only thing that you need a specialized tool for to remove. And you don't need a press, but it's recommended to press them back in. Aside from that, it's just basic hand tools.
Some fancier snap ring pliers, some skinny ones help for the front.
Yeah, for the input.
Bearing. These you'll need some regular bigger snap ring pliers for that, and then
yeah, I did a video on all the tools that we've been using.
Yeah,
but it's pretty basic hand tools for the most part. I had my fingers in there.
Whoops.
But yeah, if you're just gonna put a chain in it, it's not too hard. So, all right, well, what's next?
We gotta do a little bearing installation, rear case half, and then it's onto the tail housing.
Alrighty.
Where's the other? There. They're not really a press fit, just little burrs and stuff. Can be a son of a gun sometimes.
So the OEM sealer was an anaerobic sealer, which we are using here.
And of course, if we had too much of this, it just kind of washes into the oil where silicone dries, and then you get clumps like you saw in the oil pickup tube here. It's just a really good alternative to silicone.
It's like assembly lube for engines. It just kind of melts into the oil. If you use the right assembly lube anyways. Or you could be a prick and just use right stuff and make the next guy suffer.
Yeah. I've taken apart plenty of stuff that was glued together so bad you just about wanted to throw it in the garbage can.
I mean, you don't need bolts with right stuff.
Yeah. Clamp it together. It's like woodworking. Clamp it together for a little while and then you're good. And then this, you can take a clean finger, which I believe I have. Just make sure. Just kind of spread it around, all around the bolt holes.
This is why you don't hammer screwdrivers in between case halves.
Mm-hmm. And then this stuff separates real nice. It's a little difficult, but you get the right stuff. You get the right tools, and they just pop right apart. Like like using this in between these
a case splitter.
Little tabs. Yeah, using a case splitter. You can do it with a plastic hammer. I've done something like this. I've done plenty before I got this, which is actually some kind of clutch tool, I think. But it's a fantastic case splitter.
I mean, you never want to hammer in between two, machined surfaces. It's just, you don't remove your cylinder heads that way.
I do. No, I don't.
So once we get done smearing the Gookenpucky around, we'll bring it back.
Forget your four-wheel drive return spring. And then you want to line up the dowels. Also while getting that bearing to slide down on the shaft, which sometimes needs a little persuasion. And I have this large wheel hub installer. It goes into the end of the axle shaft to install your wheel hubs. Anyway.
Trying to find a good place where I can hold the case.
This is a good fit for this, and it doesn't take a whole lot. Okay. There we
Gotta
go.
make sure it goes down even.
Yeah, you gotta wiggle the shaft a little bit over here to make sure that the front output shaft gets lined up in the bearing the way it's supposed to. And that looks good. Also have to pull up on the output shaft to install the snap ring. And yeah.
And don't launch it across the room.
Yes.
Contact.
Contact. Give it a little snap-a-roozy just to make sure. She's seated. Then we can put the bolts in, but while it's here and it's all together, before you put bolts in,
Function test.
do a function test. That was a little far. There's low, neutral, I believe. Yep. There's 2 high. I keep going past 4 high. It's really close. Yep, right there should be. Yep, there's 4 high. So we'll just leave it in neutral for right now. We can put it back up and put the bolts in.
Kickstand.
Kickstand. There we go.
All right, we'll zip in all of our case half bolts with, was it a T47?
Yes, T47.
And we'll bring you guys back. No, that's not.
That's not a screw hole.
Dummy hole.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
I believe this is a Dana 44 pinion seal installer. Worked good.
Perfect fit. So now the input shaft or output shaft seal is on. We can drop our yoke on. And we'll just we'll put them on there loosey goosey for right now. We gotta install that seal next. Yeah. So we have 32 mil. Send her home with all the ugga-duggas. It's in neutral, so I'm gonna have to hold that. All nice and seated down. 32 mil socket. It does have a nylock on there. You could replace it and run it with a new one. Is it needed? I don't believe so. Never had an issue with them lately. Oh yeah. Nice and tight. That was all floppy. Fixed. With these cases, you can't weld on them because they're more magnesium than aluminum. So yeah, bad things happen. So anyways, yeah, we're right at the home stretch. Jesse is finding a seal driver that'll drive that input shaft seal home, and then we're done.
So for the front seal installer, before the seal is in, we just used this part of a Miller tool. It's a special puller. If you've ever used them, you know how handy they are. But I just tucked the the wiper lip into the hole here because the ID is a little bit small, but I was able to tuck it in, and then we drove it home, and it's right where it needs to be.
You could probably tap that in with a ball peen hammer.
Yeah, you could put that in, with a, some kind of a drift or whatever, and get it pretty good. I've had to do that before, but with this, I know it's square. We bottomed out right here on this aluminum ledge here, and yeah,
And you'll know when you bottom out. It's a good solid thud.
no muss, no fuss.
All right, now all we gotta do is just kind of give all these the perimeter bolts a couple turns, and we're done.
All set.
So this is it's late. We started this at what, like noon?
Yeah, something like that. It's of course we weren't working on it solid, but it's 8:30 now.
Yeah, and having to fix this damn thing, that set us back, what,
Yeah,
3 hours?
That set us back, and we let it wash in the washer for a while. That was an hour or so. And
So,
yeah,
in a perfect world, this could take someone that's somewhat, mostly, moderately mechanically inclined. But
Yeah.
4 or 5 hours to do?
oh no, I mean once you get it on the table, if you got a good parts washer to clean everything up, you're looking at, and you have all the parts and tools in front of you, you're looking at a couple hours really. Half that's going to be cleaning. It took us so long because I happen to be out of stock of the rebuild kits, so I was having to piece it together, and then looking for adapter parts here, and that rear output seal I'm out of stock on, but I was looking to see if there was another alternate number that was on another part number.
Lots of cross-referencing.
Lots of cross-referencing. Yeah, you're looking at a couple hours. Really, it doesn't take that long. It takes you longer to clean it all up than it does to pull it apart and put it back together.
But yeah, for a simple, like if you're just doing a chain install or chain swap, yeah, it'd probably take you longer to get it out of the truck.
Yeah, that would be, if it's in the vehicle, that's your longest thing right there, is getting it out probably.
But all right, well, we're gonna wrap this one up. Thanks for watching. Torqueking does have a YouTube channel. They do have a video, an older video of this exact case being broken down. I don't know what the differences are going to be between that video and this one.
A little more in depth, I guess. Yeah, with part numbers listed, on
Yep.
the video.
Yep. So that being said, you can, if you are interested in doing this kind of stuff, you want to know more info on just a variety of things, you can get on the Torqueking TV.
Torqueking TV.
On YouTube, and they've got a lot of videos on there.
Plethora. Working on more all the time.
So, wealth of information. I hope you guys like this, and if you want more of this kind of content, like, subscribe, follow. Subscribe to Torqueking TV, and buy American, because we're trying to fight obsolescence every day.
Yep.
So,
Fighting obsolescence every day.
all right, thanks for watching.